Less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Free Georgia Podcast. My name is Jake Green, joined by my co-host, Cat. How you doing, Cat?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Great. I feel like you have a new virtual background every time we do a show.
No, it's the same one.
It's the same one? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you just look different this time. Well, how you doing today?
Doing good. It's nice and early. It's way earlier where you are.
It's way earlier where I am. Yeah. How did you like the first half of The Great Create?
It was awesome. I really enjoyed listening to everyone talk, especially, what was his name? Brad? No.
Brad?
Yes, because, his was kind of like a stand-up set.
His was great. That dude's so funny. Yeah, Brad Binkley, he's done a lot of work with us and for us.
And he called you out. What was he like talking about when
me and him went to a few No Kings protests together to film some stuff, and Indivisible protests, and he pretends to be friends with the creators of that organization, and so people let him interview them. It's pretty great. So normally they just say, we're not talking to you.
Does he kind of like troll them, or is it like genuine interviews?
There's a little bit of both. So he's trying, it's a genuine interview until a certain point, until he realizes that he's never getting anything like real out of this person. Then it's a troll. Yeah. It's pretty great. It's really fun stuff. Anybody who wants to should go over and watch his stuff. Propaganda Report. Yeah, he's got some great insights. And yeah, if you want any information about how Libertarian Party is spreading liberty and freedom around Georgia, go to lpgeorgia.com and make sure you get your tickets to The Great Create next year, because it was a fun time. And yeah, you don't want to miss it next year. It was great. So today's guest is a cybersecurity expert. He is all about protecting privacy online. His YouTube channel is called Business Reform. His name is John Padfield. Yeah. Kat, what are you looking forward to most about what John has to say?
I'm looking forward to hearing about, he has a upcoming video about Palantir.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm going to ask him a little bit about that.
Nice. All right. Well, let's get to it. All right, John Padfield, welcome to the Free Georgia Podcast. How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm happy to be with you this morning.
Heck yeah. I got to watch you give a speech at The Great Create this year. They had a lot of great speakers, and your speech was definitely one of those. How did you get involved with The Great Create? How did you get invited?
I have a YouTube channel, and I've been posting videos for about 3 years. And for about the last year, most of my videos have been focused on some aspect of privacy, because a lot of people don't realize how closely related liberty and privacy are. If you have no privacy, somebody's watching you, and that is, in my opinion, a severe encroachment on liberty. Elizabeth got a hold of me. I've always put my email address in my videos, and she reached out to me. We had some conversations, and one thing led to another, and she invited me to be a speaker at The Great Create.
Nice. And how did you feel about it? How was your time there?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting to know Elizabeth prior to the event. And my background, you may notice over my shoulder, I have a little Statue of Liberty. I have been very libertarian leaning for most of my life. And when she told me about The Great Create, really the idea of self-sufficiency, some of the other speakers there talking about holistic medicine and things of that nature, that really it is a close fit and a very important subject to me. So the speaker that spoke about propaganda, the speakers that talked about holistic medicine, it was just a fantastic event. So I was very happy to be a part of it.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we were happy to have you there. That was my first time attending as just a visitor and not part of the actual show. So it was fun to actually get to do everything for once. Kat missed your speech. She had to go to work before you got up on stage. Kat, do you have any questions to start it off for John?
Yeah, since I missed it, could you give an overview?
Oh, wow. I do a lot of public speaking, and I really feed off the energy and the vibe of the audience. So no two of my presentations are ever identical. Typically what I do is I'll get up with literally one index card with about 8 words on it, and that's my outline. In the Great Create presentation that I gave, I started off talking about flock safety cameras and how there are now 80,000 of them tracking our every movement across the United States. And I talked about the Institute for Justice and the federal lawsuit they have against the city of Norfolk, Virginia over warrantless searches. I am a big believer in our Constitution, and our Fourth Amendment guarantees our right to be secure in our papers, our homes, and effects, and that if somebody wants to do a search, law enforcement wants to do a search, they have to have a warrant issued on probable cause. And I believe, as does Institute for Justice, collecting the movements of everyone in the country for a month plus. Flock Safety says they keep the data for a month, but their clients can download that data and keep it forever. So when any organization is collecting everyone's movements as they drive about the country, and they are storing that information, to me, that is an unreasonable search without any probable cause. You're just gathering information on everyone driving down the road. And that's the nature of the lawsuit against the city of Norfolk. So we talked about some of the ramifications of that. Should law enforcement be able to collect everyone's movements so that in the future, if a crime is committed, they can look back and see who was in the area at the time? And this issue's already gone to the Supreme Court in the Carpenter case in 2018. And by a 5-4 decision, the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, you have to have a warrant before you do this type of a search. Their exact phrase was, the use of advanced technology to monitor people for a prolonged period of time requires a search warrant. And so I'm optimistic that the Institute for Justice is going to prevail in their lawsuit against the city of Norfolk, Virginia, and that will push the pendulum back in the direction of privacy. But our privacy is constantly under assault. We have corporations that are making money tracking us online, tracking us in person, Bluetooth beacons in stores that you walk into. There are so many different technologies that are in use today to track people so that they can be profiled, so they can be marketed to. So we have this threat coming from what I call Little Brother. Little Brother is all of these companies, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Google, Uber, I mean, the list goes on and on. Facebook, you got all of these little brothers that are collecting our data so that they can market to us. And then you have Big Brother, and Big Brother is tracking us for other purposes. But the dirty secret is these two overlap substantially. We have evidence that the NSA has purchased data from Little Brother to feed into databases. Just earlier this year, the Trump administration awarded a major contract to Palantir to consolidate all information that the federal government has on every one of us. And it's a staggering amount of information. Think about when you were born and a birth certificate was issued, there is information in a federal database, probably with Health and Human Services, that says this is the hospital you were born at, this is the doctor that delivered you, here's your vaccination records, and then you move into your education. The Department of Education has information on you. What college did you attend? Did you have student loans? And then you move into Department of Labor. Where have you worked? Then you move into the IRS. How much money have you made? What donations have you given to charity? On and on it goes. The federal government has a tremendous amount of information on us. But today that information is spread across multiple databases. And what Palantir has received a contract for is take all of these separate databases, merge them into one master database so AI can go through it and start looking for anomalies. Most people that make money in your tax bracket only move once every 4 years, but you've moved 4 years, 4 times in 4 years. So explain yourself. And it is beyond Orwellian to me that our AI overlords are going to be poring over our life story, looking for any inconsistency, looking for anything that might be an indicator that a crime was committed so that we can be harassed over it. This is the exact opposite of what the Fourth Amendment says. The Fourth Amendment says when a crime has been committed and when police have a probable cause to believe that you are guilty, they go to a judge, they get a judge to agree with them that we have enough probable cause to investigate you, then we launch an investigation. This is turning the Fourth Amendment completely on its head, saying we're going to look at everybody's life story and we're going to look for anything that's unusual to us. And if we see something unusual, we're going to launch an investigation and then you get to defend yourself. Absolutely absurd, but that's the world we live in today.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that sounded like a rant.
Oh, that was great.
As you can tell, I'm passionate about these things.
Yes, I completely understand. We are too. We actually have had a few folks on here to talk about. I mean, the flock system for one, like that's huge here in Georgia at the moment. Have you ever worked with a guy named James Dutton, lawyer?
I know James. He and I spoke at DragonCon last year. We were both, we weren't on the same panel, but we were both at DragonCon, the Electronic Frontiers Forum. And he and I spoke on different panels, but at the same track at DragonCon.
Yeah, he's been on here to talk about those cameras a lot, and he's doing a lot to fight against them in Georgia. So
he's a great guy. I really enjoyed getting to meet him.
Also, do you know a guy named Ike Skelton?
Only by reputation. I have never spoken to him, but he is a county councilman, I believe, county council or county commissioner.
Yeah.
For Camden, Missouri, I believe.
Missouri. I couldn't remember if it was Missouri or Indiana. Okay.
No, it was Missouri, but he led the charge in Camden County, Missouri, to get a county ordinance passed banning flock cameras.
Yeah.
And the issue came down to they are banned in the county, but they were still installed along state roads. And that led to a jurisdictional dispute. The state claiming we still have the right to put these here because it's on a state right of way, even though the county has a county ordinance against it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was asking Flock to remove the cameras. Neither the sheriff nor Flock was willing to come in and remove the cameras. And so he got proactive and went out and removed them himself and then was arrested for removing the cameras.
Yeah. Yep. Crazy story.
Yeah.
So
Kat.
I'm very fascinated with how much information that you have on this and other things. I watched a few of your videos and you just pack so much information into like just 15, 20-minute videos. So I was just wondering your like research and your just process of creating these videos for YouTube.
Well, number one, thank you for your compliment on my videos. I try really hard to keep my videos concise. There are some YouTubers that I jokingly say they cram 10 minutes of information into an hour-long video. I try not to do that because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I work on my scripts. I do script all of my videos. Unlike this, it's totally unscripted. But in my videos, I work to keep them as short as I can. They're still usually 15 to 20 minutes, but they are full of information. Part of it goes back to my background. I'm an engineer by trade, got a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering back in the 80s, worked in the automotive industry. I then went into politics. I served 2 terms in the Indiana House of Representatives. So I have an engineer's mindset, but I have the experience of being a legislator and seeing how laws are made, being a lawmaker. And then I became a business professor. So I feel like when I approach these issues, I have a pretty well-rounded view, understanding the technology, which I can tell you from firsthand experience, very, very few legislators understand technology. Look at where legislators come from. At the federal level, a substantial majority are lawyers. At the state level, the people that I served with back in the 90s when I was in the Indiana House, school teachers, farmers, retirees, real estate agents, and lawyers. That was the top 5 occupations of people serving in the Indiana House. Out of 100 representatives and 50 senators, there were only 2 of us that had any type of corporate or engineering background. And so as technology issues come up, decisions are being made by people who really do not understand technology, and they are making their decisions based on who they listen to. There are lobbyists that are there assuring them that, yes, we are collecting this information, but we're only using it for good. So it's all right. Don't regulate us. And you have big tech spending millions and millions of dollars on lobbyists to go in and convince people that don't know better that their technology is only beneficial, and don't regulate us because you're going to stifle innovation and cost jobs. And too many people fall for it because they don't know the right questions to ask. And it's very disappointing to see it, but at least I understand it. It's not that they're bought and paid for, but it's they're listening to the wrong people, and the people coming in reassuring them that it's all okay, don't worry about it. And too many of them listen to the lobbyist and really don't understand the potential for abuse.
So what would be, you said they don't know the right questions to ask. What would be some of those questions that they should be asking?
It doesn't matter if you go to Facebook and look at Mark Zuckerberg. We care about your privacy. Yeah, sure you do. You make billions of dollars violating people's privacy. These overly broad general statements, don't worry, we care about your privacy. This device doesn't share your information with blah, blah, blah. No, but you collect all that information. And then my favorite is, we don't sell your information. No, of course you don't sell it. You share it. I'm going to give you this information about a subscriber, and you're going to give me that information about a subscriber, but no money changed hands. So I didn't sell your information. We just traded it for mutual benefit. There are so many weasel words that are used in privacy statements. We will only share this with our business partners. Okay, who are your business partners? Anyone that gives us money? It's nobody pushes back beyond the rosy, really vague and really meaningless assurances. And there needs to be more people asking the tough questions. Give me a list of your business partners. Well, I can't, because that changes on a daily basis. Okay, that should be a big red flag. What are you going to do to ensure this data is not breached? Oh, that's a huge one, because just do a Google search for the term data breach, or personally, I do a DuckDuckGo search because I don't like using Google.
Yeah.
But do a search for the term data breach and see how many results you get. And this is the thing. I've used this analogy before in a video. Imagine for just a moment, I live in a residential neighborhood. Imagine for a moment, I decided I want a pet lion. And I'm going to put a 6-foot tall fence in the backyard for my pet lion. And my pet lion gets loose and harms a neighborhood child. Well, it's not my fault. I had a 6-foot fence around my backyard. It's not my fault the lion got loose. Is that going to fly in court? No, the first question is, why did you have a lion in your backyard? I brought a danger into the community. So who is responsible when the lion gets out? Well, not me. I put up a fence. No, you brought the danger into the community. When the lion gets loose, that's your fault. And now let's transfer that to data collection. I am going to collect every detail about your personal life, what you browse on the internet, what you purchase on the internet, Where do you drive? Where do you worship? What do you donate money to? I'm going to collect all that information and I'm going to put it on my hard drive that I don't have properly secured. And when somebody hacks my computer and takes all of your information that I compiled, who's responsible? Well, not me. I didn't give it to them. Yeah, but I created the risk. Just like bringing the lion into the residential neighborhood, I created this attractive target because I have personal information on millions of people that has value to it. Hackers want that. And I created the risk by compiling all that information. I have an obligation to protect that. And who has not had a data breach? Office of Management and Personnel, OMP. This is a federal agency. Their database includes every federal employee as well as every federal contractor, their name, their personal information. If that federal employee has a security clearance, there's about a 50-page form that you fill out to get your security clearance, depending on what level of clearance you're getting. This form is going to have information on where did you go to school? Who were your teachers? What have you ever been arrested for? Tons and tons of personal information, very personal information. In addition, if you're going for a high security clearance, the FBI is going to go out and talk to your high school teacher, even though you graduated 30 years ago. If they're still alive, they're going to be interviewed. The neighbors from where you lived 10 years ago are going to be interviewed. The FBI is going to go out and do all of these background checks before you get your security clearance.
Yep.
All of that information was in the database at the Office of Personnel Management, or Office of Management Personnel, OMP. That was hacked by Chinese hackers. They have all the personal information on every federal employee and every federal contractor. This was about 2019, give or take. But my point in sharing this is the federal government who has all of this information on so many people, and they got hacked. But the worst is the National Security Agency themselves. It wasn't just that the NSA, arguably the most powerful spy agency in the world, it's not just that they got hacked, but do you want to guess what in particular got hacked at the NSA?
What is that?
What's called the cyber arsenal. It is all of the tools that the NSA uses for hacking. Those got hacked. and it's called the cyber arsenal, but it would be the equivalent of somebody hacking our ICBMs. Hackers got into the NSA and stole copies of all of the tools that the NSA uses for hacking. So my point is, the NSA is not secure. They have been hacked. The federal government is not secure. It's been hacked. And I've only given you 2 examples. I could give you another dozen. But the federal government's been hacked numerous times, including the NSA themselves. So what's the odds that Facebook will never be hacked? What's the odds Google will never be hacked? Of course they're going to be hacked. And then let's talk about your local insurance agency. They don't spend a fraction of what these big organizations do. My whole point in all of this, when I start collecting people's information, I have a responsibility to keep that safe. I don't like them collecting it in the first place, but if you're going to collect it, keep it safe. And they fail to do that.
Sorry. Right at the end there, a big bug flew right in front of my camera.
I'm looking at my camera up here, but I've got you on screen and I saw you waving, but that happens in a live show.
It just went right in.
I thought it was
front.
like an animation.
It was not. It was perfectly placed. That was nuts. Yeah, that's dadgum. I completely lost my train of thought. Kat, did you have a question?
Yes. So have you ever gotten any pushback legally or from law enforcement because of what you do?
Not yet. I have been told I've been poking the bear a lot lately, and I have made some videos. I don't like innuendo. I don't like hinting that somebody might be doing something. If I'm going to say it, I'm going to say it. I have made videos where I talk about what I call the architects of the surveillance state. And I name names. Larry Ellison, he is an architect of the surveillance state. For a short while in September of this year, he was the wealthiest man in the world. His wealth eclipsed Elon Musk for a short time in September. Elon has since reclaimed the title, but Larry Ellison is the second richest man in the world. And I just bring that up because when you look at what he says, if my next door neighbor were saying some of the ludicrous things that Larry Ellison's saying, I would kind of laugh and ignore it. But when the richest man in the world or the second richest man in the world is saying these things, you got to take him serious. Larry Ellison, and this is public record. I do not like conspiracy theories. I only talk about what I can prove.
Mhm.
Larry Ellison said in a shareholders call, he is the chairman of the board for Oracle. He is the chairman of the board, and in a call with investors in September of 2024, he made some statements, and I quoted him verbatim. Now I'm recalling them from memory, so this might not be an exact quote, but it's really close. He said, "We are going to have supervision." And when he says we, he's talking about the world. The world is going to be supervised. And he said, AI is going to be watching everything because there will be cameras everywhere, from body worn cameras to dashboard cameras to doorbell cameras. Everything's going to be recorded. AI is going to be analyzing everything. And he views this as a good thing because everyone's going to be on their best behavior knowing that they're being recorded 24/7.
Hmm.
And behind me, I have two statues behind me, Statue of Liberty and a statue of Athena. Athena is the Greek goddess of wisdom and war. And I have those two back there very intentionally. I chose them when I started my YouTube channel. Patrick Henry, one of my favorite founding fathers, he said, "Guard with attention the public liberty. Suspect anyone that comes near that jewel." When I think of the public liberty, I want to be able to step outside of my house and get a breath of fresh air without being on camera. And Sergeant Jamie Milliman from, I'm trying to remember the suburb of Denver. He's a police sergeant, and he is from a suburb of Denver, Colorado. But he made the news about 2 weeks ago when he was harassing a woman on her front doorstep. And this is all caught on a Ring doorbell camera. But he is accusing this woman of theft, and this woman is totally innocent. And he's telling her, "You know, we have cameras. You can't get a breath of fresh air without us knowing about it." And this is coming directly from a police sergeant saying, "You can't get a breath of fresh air without us knowing about it." That's not the world I want to live in. I grew up in the 1970s in a rural part of Indiana. I know what freedom looks like. I remember getting on my bike, riding down to the creek with my fishing pole and spending a whole afternoon without being on camera, without being tracked. It grates on me that anyone thinks they have the right to monitor anyone who steps outside of their house. And it goes beyond that. Not only do they want to monitor you when you step outside of your house, but what are you doing inside of your house? Every link you click on, I need to know about that. And so that's why I have these statues back here, the goddess of wisdom and war and the Statue of Liberty. And the rest of Patrick Henry's quote, when he said, "Guard with jealous attention the public liberty, suspect anyone that approaches that jewel," the last part of his quote was, "Nothing can protect it but downright force." And I pray that it never comes to that. But Patrick Henry was willing to put actions to words. I'm doing everything in my power to try and protect the public liberty because I don't want it to go that direction.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agree. Kat, you got a question?
Yes. So you have an upcoming video on Palantir. While prepping for that video, what is something that you've discovered that genuinely surprised you and that you can share for us right now?
Great question. I've already made one video on Palantir where I talked about their rise, how their stock value has skyrocketed since last year's election. Thanks in large part to the 251 federal contracts they have received this calendar year. Blows my mind. 251 federal contracts. And that was as of early October. So that's basically one federal contract a day for the time the new administration's been in office. And it didn't start with the new administration. The previous administration was giving them contracts, just not as many, not as fast. So in terms of what am I learning about Palantir right now for my second video, my first video focused on them as a company, and the full title of that video was Palantir because there's some lines Google won't cross. There was a project integrating artificial intelligence into military weapon systems. Google initially took the contract. It was a two-phase contract. Google took the first phase. They got so much pushback from their employees. About 4,000 Google employees signed a petition saying, we don't want to work on this. Several senior people at Google resigned, saying, we do not want to be a part of putting AI into military systems. So Google announced, we are going to complete this first contract that we took, but we will not take phase two. And Palantir swooped in to take phase two. So anyhow, the first video just focused on Palantir as a company, some of the things that they've done, how their stock has exploded. The second video that I'm working on that will be coming out probably late December, sometime in January, really focuses on what's called predictive policing. And predictive policing is where AI is looking at a whole bunch of inputs and then deciding where should law enforcement send their officers. And here's a phenomenon that is so obvious. If I take 300 cops and I send them to some small town, what do you expect to happen to the arrest rate? Whatever random city I pick, if I send 300 cops in there to watch everyone, it's probably going to spike. Now, is that because that city had way more crime going on than all the neighboring cities, or is it because I put that many more eyeballs watching everybody? So predictive policing is really self-fulfilling prophecy. When the algorithm says this neighborhood, there's likely to be crime here, why don't you put a disproportionate amount of law enforcement assets in this neighborhood? Guess what's going to happen? You're going to make more arrests. See, the algorithm works. Well, no, you could send that many cops anywhere and make more arrests. Plus, how many people's rights are being violated with warrantless searches for that algorithm to work? What is that algorithm based on? Well, license plate data, and this ties back into Flock. When you look at Palantir, how did Palantir get started? Well, Peter Thiel and Alexander Karp founded Palantir. I believe it was 2003 when they founded the company. And after about a year, the CIA gave them $2 million when they were still a startup. The CIA has a venture capital branch called InQtel. Again, this is well documented. It's not theory. The CIA gave them $2 million when they were still a startup. They grew and grew. And then 2017, Flock Safety is founded. And guess who shows up to give them millions of dollars? Peter Thiel. So if you're looking for a contract where Flock is giving data to Palantir, you're probably not going to find it. But it's public record. Peter Thiel from Palantir gave money to Flock in their first year of existence when they're still a startup working out of a garage. So there are connections between the two. And then you get out to LAPD. LAPD has Flock cameras everywhere, and they have given Palantir access to all of their automated license plate readers. And Palantir is using data from their automated license plate readers to predict where is crime going to occur so that they can dispatch law enforcement assets. One of the most troubling things about Flock, they have made statements about how with this network of 80,000 AI-powered license plate readers, we can track vehicles traveling across the country without good reason. Whoa. Who do I need to justify my travel to? If I decide I want to go out to Nevada to Area 51 or to look for aliens at Roswell, if I decide to drive to Nevada, who do I have to get permission from? Well, if I don't have a good reason for going to Nevada, Flock can flag the FBI. Hey, this guy drove from Indiana to Nevada and he doesn't have a good reason. You might want to go talk to him. Again, liberty and wisdom in war. Protect with guard the public liberty. I want to be able to drive wherever I want without having to explain myself to anyone. That's my right as an American. And what I see going on today, and it's not just Flock. I talk about them because they are the most obvious, but they are not alone. They have competitors. And beyond Flock, there's other companies. Fog Data Science. Fog Data Science, everybody carries one of these in their pocket. Fog Data Science buys location data from apps. So that exercise app that you have on your phone, unless you have gone through and revoked its permission to monitor your location, that exercise app is probably collecting and broadcasting, here's everywhere that you've been. You went to Target, you went to the park, you went to work, but wherever you go, any app that has access to your location, they're collecting that, and then that's being sold to Fog Data Science. Fog Data Science then turns around and sells that to law enforcement. They brag on their website, we collect and validate over 1 billion data points per day. Well, that's millions of people and thousands of data points, but they're collecting all of that data and they're selling that to law enforcement. So if a crime is committed, they don't need a warrant. They just log into their Fog Data System account and they look at, here's where the crime was committed. Let's see who was in that area. And all of this information from your apps has been feeding a database. No warrant is required because, this is public information. Let's debate the definition of public. I do not consider everywhere that I travel to be public. And I encourage everyone. I made a video recently about iPhone in particular, about how to make your iPhone more private. And one of the things I talk about is going through your phone and looking at what has access to your camera, what has access to your microphone, what has access to your location history, what has access to your contacts, and turning off access to everything that you do not have a really good reason for it having access. Contacts in particular, I do not have a single app on my phone that I have given permission to access my contacts because my contacts are not my information. It's the information of my friends and family. And if I have people in my contact list and their phone number and their home addresses, I am not sharing that with any app because that's not my information to share.
Yeah. One of the big, so I'm a huge advocate for privacy basing your digital life. And one of the pushbacks I get from folks is, I'm not doing anything wrong, so why do I care if any of this is going on? And exactly what you were just talking about. I mean, there's a great book called 3 Felonies a Day, where
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, he basically talks about the average American commits 3 felonies a day without realizing it. And so it's not that you're doing something wrong, or you're not doing anything wrong so they can't come after you. It's that you are doing things wrong, and if they want to come after you, they can find something to come after you for, because you're constantly committing crimes because we're the most over-legislated country maybe in existence.
100%. Kat, you asked a question a few minutes ago about, have I suffered any repercussions from being vocal and speaking up? And I said, not yet. This is something that weighs on me because I'm sure, based on what you just said, I'm sure if someone put me under the microscope for long enough, I'm probably breaking some law somewhere that's broken by millions of other people because nobody realizes it's even a law. But when you invert things, you're no longer investigating a crime to see who committed it. You're investigating a person to see what law did they break. And I'm guessing any person in the country, if you follow them closely enough, you're going to find something that they broke unintentionally. And, now you've got reason to go after them. And I put reason in air quotes. Now you have an excuse to go after them because I started with the person and then I looked for what to charge them with. There was an outstanding movie made early 2000s, and this is going to be the subject of an upcoming video, probably not until January or February, because I have a lot of video ideas and I'm working on several things. But there was an outstanding movie called The Lives of Others, and it is a period piece set in East Germany shortly before the fall of the Berlin Wall. And the story centers on a young couple, and the woman is quite attractive. She's a ballet dancer, and she comes to the attention of the I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm trying to be polite. The government officials. One of them takes special interest in her because she's very attractive. She's a ballet dancer, and she has a fiance. Well, we can find something to charge him with so that she'll be alone. And they decide we need to spy on them to figure out what to arrest her fiance for. And that's really the movie. The people that are sent in to wire the house. Now, keep in mind, this movie is set before the Berlin Wall fell, so we don't have flock cameras and satellite coverage the way that we do today. But in the movie, there is a chilling scene. There are people sitting on the street in a van waiting for this couple to leave their apartment. And when they see both people have left the apartment, about a four-man team races into their apartment because they're going to be hiding audio recorders all over the place, behind wall switches, in light sockets and things like that. They're professionals. They work for the government, but they are there to put audio equipment all over the house. While they're doing that, there is a next door neighbor kind of looking out the peephole at all of these guys going into the neighbor's apartment. And the guy in charge of this surveillance team that is wiring the apartment, he notices the shadow over the peephole and he knows they're being watched. And so he calmly walks over to the neighbor's apartment, knocks on the door. There's a hesitation, and finally the door opens and a very scared looking woman is standing there. And he very calmly, with a smile, he calls her by name because, of course, he knows exactly who she is. And Mrs. So-and-so, you didn't see anything today. We were never here. And then he mentions her daughter that's in college. You wouldn't want her to get kicked out of college, would you? And she's shaking her head like, no, I didn't see a thing. And, I'm sure your daughter appreciates that. And then he turns to one of the surveillance guys coming out of the adjacent apartment that they just bugged. He turns around and he said, send Mrs. So-and-so some flowers to thank her for her cooperation. And then they leave. That is a realistic portrayal of what East Germany looked like with the Stasi. The Stasi, those are people informing on their neighbors. And there were incentives. Your neighbor's doing something illegal, you need to report them. And there were estimates about 10% of the population were involved in spying for the government because they were getting incentivized to do so. And when I think, well, that was East Germany, that wouldn't happen in America. What a naive concept. Let's just think back 2020. You are not allowed to have more than 2 people at your house for Thanksgiving or Christmas because of reasons. And how many neighbors were ratting on neighbors? Hey, I saw 4 people go into their house. That to me was one of the scariest things in the past 10 years. Neighbors ratting on neighbors because the government said you can't have company at Thanksgiving or Christmas, even your own family. And neighbors were ratting out neighbors saying, hey, 2 cars pulled into my neighbor's driveway and I saw 6 people go into their house. Well, get the SWAT team. And there was horrifying body cam footage of police going in and busting up family parties because the governor said you can't do this and we're here to enforce the governor's will, even though the governor is breaking the Constitution.
Yeah. Now, in the intro to this show, Brian Kemp, our governor, is saying if you see somebody doing something or out and about, report them to us. And that was during COVID.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So, yeah, no, that absolutely happened quite a bit. All right, we've got time for one more question. Kat, You got one more?
Oh, I have two more. I have to choose.
All right. Let's do two more then.
Well, I don't know. Okay. Awesome. So I noticed that you don't have any paid partnerships on your YouTube channel. Is there like a moral reason for that, or is it just not something you want to put in your videos?
Great question. I am not opposed to having sponsors for my videos, but I am incredibly selective about who I will accept a sponsorship from. There are some VPNs that have reached out to me wanting me to promote their VPN, and they are VPNs that I do not trust. And I am never, ever going to recommend and put my name on a product that I don't believe in. Next week, because next week is Thanksgiving, next week I do have a sponsored video coming out, but it is for a company that is an outstanding company with outstanding products, and it's not related to privacy, it's related to office furniture. But I have turned down countless offers from VPNs, vaping products, online gambling, and I'm not saying that stuff needs to be outlawed. I'm just saying that's stuff I don't want to associate with my channel. So I am open to sponsorships, but they have to be companies that I believe in and products that I believe in. And unfortunately, I have only gotten a couple of those offers.
What is a VPN that you would recommend?
My opinion, and I've done a lot of research on this, the number one VPN is Mullvad, Mullvad. Mullvad is by far my number one choice. And if you are just looking for a VPN, that is the one to go with. Now, some people that are on a budget and they're looking for more than a VPN, then I recommend Proton. Proton has what's called the Proton Unlimited plan. This is not a commercial for them. I'm just sharing my my analysis. Proton offers a VPN. They offer private email. They offer cloud storage. Because Dropbox, Google Drive, all of those things, those are not private alternatives. Proton offers very secure online storage. So if you're looking for a suite of privacy-related password manager, online storage, email, VPN, then I would go with Proton because they bundle all that together at a good price.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for the absolute best VPN, I would go with Mullvad.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad you said Proton because that's what I use for everything. So that's
they're very solid.
All right. Kat, got one final question?
Yes. So have you ever thought of building your own like platform or tools, like an education space for like other than the YouTubes that you do for what you teach?
Funny you should ask that. I am under contract at the university where I teach. In my intro to my videos, I describe myself an engineer turned state representative turned business professor. And I am going to be leaving the university no later than May of 2027. So I've got up to an 18-month. Basically, I'm not going to renew my contract when it runs out in May of 2027. So I have an 18-month runway ahead of me to put things in place so that I can dedicate full time to doing what I'm doing on the YouTube channel. And there are a couple of things that I am in process right now of evaluating. One is on the education side. I've been a professor for 11 years now, and by the time my contract is up, I will have been a professor for 12 years. So part of what I'm looking at is what type of courses can I do to educate people. I teach graduate level data analytics for a Big Ten university right now. And that's one thing that I'm looking at. I have also been in discussions with a contract manufacturing house. You may see some privacy related hardware early next year that I have helped design that's being manufactured by a good reputable contract manufacturing house. And there are a couple of different products that I have in mind that they should be accessible to the public to help protect people's privacy. I don't want to go into detail exactly on what they are yet, but you may start seeing some physical products show up on my website and on my YouTube channel for some physical things that you can purchase to help protect your privacy.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. Well, John, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. And like I know how hard it is to try to convince people to take their online privacy seriously. So I really appreciate what you're doing. That's not an easy thing to do, and you're doing it very successfully. So I very much appreciate that. Can you tell folks out there where to find you and what you're up to next?
Yes. My YouTube channel is called Business Reform, and I talk about issues at the intersection of business, technology, and society, drawing on my experience as an engineer, a legislator, and a business professor. So YouTube is where you can find my latest video content. I also have a website, businessreform.org, and I started last July traveling around the country. I call it my Brush Fires of Freedom tour. I go out and I do live events, and those have been growing. My first event only drew about 15 or 18 people, but these events have been growing in size. I've done 12 events now in 10 different states. And just yesterday, I got an invitation to go down to Mexico City in February and speak at a large privacy conference. So I'm going to continue the Brush Fires tours. And if you go to brushfirestour.com, you can see my tour schedule where I'm going to be showing up in person and talking to audiences. So businessreform.org and brushfirestour.com. Those are the best places to find me.
Heck yeah. Like I said, very much appreciate it. Stick around after the credits and we'll chat for just a second.
Great.
Kat, you got anything else to say before we head out?
This was a really fun interview. I wish I could talk to you more.
We'll have to do it again. I've enjoyed talking with both of you, and I'd be happy to do this again sometime.
Heck yeah. All right, y'all.
Okay.
Go check out more Free Georgia podcasts coming out in the next few weeks, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Okay. Thank you.